Finally, before I let you go, we're facing an unusual situation. The sentencing decision for former President Trump has been delayed now until September, but I know that you have to be planning for at least the possibility that a former president is going to have to spend time in jail. Is there a plan in place? How exactly would it work?
So the Secret Service has the responsibility of protecting all of our protectees, no matter where they are. So we would come up with an appropriate plan should that situation arise.
Is it possible to protect a former president in jail?
I think that we have the responsibility of protecting our folks no matter where they are, and so we will figure out how to strike that balance.
She would know. The 28-year veteran was on the team that evacuated Vice President Dick Cheney on 9/11, and she served on then Vice President Biden's protective detail. He named her director in mid-2022. Amid a swirl of controversy over the agency deleting nearly all of its text messages from January 6th. The agency says that was due to a data migration.
System migrations happen, but I think for a lot of Americans, it just doesn't pass the smell test, given the timing and the volume of messages deleted.
Well, it's unfortunate that that would be the assumption that people would make. Our integrity is everything, and there was nothing nefarious attached to that.
Their integrity.
U.S. Secret Service Director Kim Cheatle must resign. She was warned about this. She ignored the warnings. And then he doubles down. I want to repeat and can absolutely confirm the U.S. Secret Service Director Kim Cheatle has repeatedly turned down requests for a larger security footprint around President Trump, despite knowing the threat level is catastrophic. Resign tonight.
All right, guys. So once again, we got to follow up on the fallout surrounding the failed assassination attempt of former President Trump, where I feel like every 5 minutes I am thanking God that Trump did not get hit fatally by that would-be sniper. However, I do unfortunately have to report that a hero did die that day, and the hero is identified as ex-volunteer fire chief Corey Comparator, ID'd as Trump's sniper victim. He was shielding his daughter from the assassin's bullets as he was trying to assassinate the president. As you can see here, this is the fire chief, again, 50 years old, served for the Buffalo Township. He was shot and killed by Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old lunatic, while he was attending the Trump rally. And 2 other people were wounded as well, too. Again, my thoughts and prayers are with the family. And again, this is just a tragic moment in American history that we really have to wonder how in the world was this allowed to happen in the first place, which is why you have the director of the Secret Service, Ms. Kim Cheatle, who was appointed by Biden, getting a whole lot of backlash and calls to resign over the fact that, again, this was allowed to happen. And I use the word allowed on purpose because, to me, I find it very, very, very hard to believe that what is supposed to be the best security in the world, right? Security that you can't buy, okay? This security allowed an individual, a would-be assassin, to get on top of an elevated surface 200 to 300 yards away from the former president of the United States while he's speaking on a stage with direct sight on the president to allow for a clean attempt to assassinate the president without spotting the guy first and stopping it, or shooting the guy before he could shoot the president, or just not allowing him on that rooftop in the first place, right? I just have a hard time believing that this guy so easily got around what is supposed to be the best security in the world, security that money can't buy.
When we go up as a counter sniper, we put together what we call range fans for our range card. We usually keep it right next to us. It's an overlay of the area, usually a satellite image, and it has our 100-yard line, our 200-yard line, our 300-yard line, and we identify the buildings and the areas for potential threat in those so that when you do identify a threat, you don't have to actually what they call milling out, which is to determine the distance of that actual target. You have it within your range fan. You can quickly glance down and say, roughly 200, and you can dial your elevation, look at your windage, make your call, and then fire your shot. Look, at 230 yards, which is what this is being estimated by, we have to bear in mind something. An AR-15, or any rifle of that matter, has what they call minutes of angle, which means what the capability of the rifle is. A standard rifle, which is a basic rifle's capabilities, is 1 MOA, which means for every 100 yards is 1-inch grouping capabilities. You're talking about that at 230 yards, The average shooter could actually point at a target, fire 5 to 6 rounds, and somewhere within that group would be about a 2.3-inch grouping at 230 yards. The average life-size man target is a 20 by 40, 20 shoulder to shoulder, 40 waist to head. President Trump obviously is a much larger guy. He's a much taller guy. So it is by miracle and divine intervention that he is not killed today. And so there was a failure in the breach of security. I will identify that immediately. I will tell you that we always take the high ground for your overwatch positions. You always look at what the ability is to see the crowd so that you can mitigate threats at an elevated position. And one of the areas why you look at high angle fire shooting is also the direction and trajectory of the bullet itself. It's not like shooting at a flat trajectory where you have over penetration and can get other individuals. This is going to eventually just hit into the ground. So the oversight on this is that you're talking about 230 yards, which is nothing for a shot, adjacent to the stage of the president, and there was no one on that building. No one, even if you're not going to put anyone on the building, standing next to the building to ensure there's no access to the building. So I'm glad that the speaker is going to do an investigation on this because I think that it's warranted. I think that I applaud again what the Secret Service detail had done, what the Counter Sniper CS team has done. But I will tell you, this is a massive security breach in my opinion.
Yeah, well,
so a lot of people have questions about what's going on with the Secret Service, and those questions are legitimate, because the Secret Service is getting exposed as a DEI operation that seems to be incompetent, right? It's being ran by somebody that clearly is not cut out for the job, and they are hiring people that a lot of people are questioning whether or not they are qualified for the job because of videos like this. This happened right as they were taking Trump into his vehicle. People are focused on the women and how they're reacting, the women Secret Service agents. Like, for example, this woman right here who is struggling to holster her gun as she seems to be in panic about what's happening. And again, I get it. People are human. You have a sniper that's trying to kill people. So I get it. You don't know where the threat is coming from. But at the same time, holstering your gun is a very basic thing that every gun owner should know how to do very efficiently and smoothly. I mean, you're always supposed to know where your holster's at. In fact, you're supposed to practice so much that it's like second nature to holster your gun or to unholster your gun. And this woman is out here struggling with something that, again, is extremely basic, right? I mean, this is what is required to be efficient when it comes to using your gun. And you would think that anybody that's working for Secret Service, okay, this is supposed to be the best security in the world, right? You would think that they could do this in their sleep, right? Without even thinking about it, regardless of whether or not they are under pressure, okay, or under threat. But what you saw there was this woman struggling mightily before she actually got it. And again, a lot of people are wondering, you know, what is going on with this, right? Is this what we should be seeing in America, right? Is this who should be protecting the president of the United States, the former president? But again, this is done on purpose because what we've come to find out is that DEI has infected the Secret Service to the point where they seem to be hiring based off things that don't have to do with actual qualifications to protect the president of the United States or the former presidents of the United States.
To expand hiring, they're aiming to have 30% women recruits by 2030 and even allowed YouTube influencer Michelle Carre to train with agents.
But I'm very conscious as I sit in this chair now of making sure that we need to attract diverse candidates and ensure that we are developing and giving opportunities to everybody in our workforce, and particularly women.
That workforce will be pivotal for the 2024 campaign season, which for the first time includes a former president who already has lifetime protection. Agents were there when Donald Trump was arraigned in New York.
We were able to work out the details ahead of time of how that particular day was going to go, but we will always ensure the safety of all of our protectees that we have.
The service has a zero-fail mission, a mission officers are training to uphold, pretending this field is the most famous address in America.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. It is a zero-fail mission, as in you can't fail, because any failure is catastrophic, okay? So, to me, that would warrant the director, Miss Kim Cheatle, stepping down and resigning, because I personally think that DEI should be nowhere near the Secret Service, right? When you talk about qualifications to protect the President of the United States, you're talking about having to hire people who not only are very tall, kind of big, because again, their job is to shield the president, right? Their literal job is to take a bullet for the president, to not only just be able to protect him, but to also take a bullet. I would say by definition, you have these shorter women who aren't as strong. They're not going to have the ability to protect the president as much as a male would be able to protect the president, right? I mean, we're just talking about basic common sense stuff, just physical attributes. Unfortunately, again, for women, I just don't think the qualifications are there. But yet, we've seen in this country standards being lowered to get women involved in professions that, quite honestly, for a vast majority of women, from a physical perspective, just physical capability perspective, they are not qualified for. I'm not saying that no woman is qualified. What I'm saying is that most likely a male is going to be more qualified when you look at it from just a qualifications perspective. You're talking about protecting the president of the United States. There's nothing wrong with having an all-male Secret Service. In fact, if I was the president of the United States, if I was Trump, that is what I would be most comfortable with, right? And if you assign a woman to protect me, then I'm going to be asking for her resume, right? I'm going to make sure she passed all of the tests that the men had to pass with the exact same qualifications and standards, okay? That's what I would be doing, because we know that in order to hit these diversity quotas that apparently the Secret Service has in some police departments across the country, they're lowering the standards. They're not making the women have to meet the same standards that the men make when it comes to the physical tests. And that's a problem. That's a huge issue. It's not something that I would be comfortable with personally, okay? If I had to hire a security detail, if they tell me, hey, you're going to have a woman protecting you, then I'm going to make sure for certain that she's not a DEI hire, that she passed every qualification. She's met the standards that are necessary to be in that position, that she did not get a handout, or that, standards were lowered to get her on the team just so you can woke virtue signal. So, again, a lot of people are asking questions and they're demanding answers for what happened here. A would-be assassin fired up to 8 times at former President Donald Trump from an obvious perch with clear sight lines, leaving a troubled nation asking, how could the Secret Service let this happen? Pressure is already mounting on Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle to answer for the attack on the GOP candidate for president, and experts are also criticizing the movements of his federal agents in the field as they struggle to get Trump to safety. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer has announced that his panel will call Cheatle for a hearing July 22nd. It's not soon enough, right? We need answers now, because we don't know how many of these lunatics are out here. And we need somebody in charge that actually understands and knows how to protect the former president of the United States, right? So waiting a whole week, in my opinion, is way too long. She needs to be answering questions now. She needs to be stepping down now, because she failed at her job, and you only got one job, okay? And you failed. So again, I think personally, she should be resigning. She should be packing her bag, because there's also claims that Trump requested more security before this and his requests were denied. So let's read here. A Republican lawmaker, Representative Mike Waltz of Florida, publicly claimed that very reliable sources told him there had been requests from Trump's camp for more robust security for him. Waltz alleged that Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas denied those requests. Now, again, if this is true, he should resign as well too, right? Republicans need to impeach this guy again and have him removed, right? And any Democrat that votes against it should say, hey, well, they're totally fine with this guy failing at his job and potentially having the former president of the United States killed in an assassination attempt. And that would not be hyperbole, because that is what happened. again, if this is true, this guy should step down or be impeached again, and or the Secret Service, the head of the Secret Service, also should step down or be fired. Okay, I think if Biden wants to make a statement about unity, right? They talk about unifying the country. Fire the director of the Secret Service. That's the first thing that you have to do, right? If you really want to make a statement about unity and show that you really care about the safety of the former president, people have to be fired and changes have to be made immediately. Okay? Immediately. Secret Service Rep Anthony Guglielmi dismissed those allegations without naming Waltz directly. Quote, there's an untrue assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources and that those were rebuffed. This is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective services and technology and capabilities as a part of the increased campaign travel tempo, the Secret Service spokesman said. Well, if that's the case, then it failed, right? And whatever technology you were using, you should stop using that and stop paying the company for providing it, right? Something has to change, okay? Again, this is a zero-fail mission. So if you fail once, then major changes have to be made because you cannot afford to fail once. But then again, guys, you know, the so-called conspiracy theorist in me, aka the critical thinker, I can't help but question, you know, was there some type of nefarious intent behind allowing this to happen? Because typically these people are very thorough in not allowing this to happen in such a very obvious attempt, a very amateurish attempt to assassinate the president of the United States should have been stopped immediately, especially considering how there are reports of people informing law enforcement that, hey, this guy is on top of a roof. This guy's climbing up the roof. I mean, apparently he was identified before all of this. There's a lot of questions, right? This was not some complicated and sophisticated operation where you had some military trained guy with military grade equipment a mile away trying to assassinate the president. No, that's not what this is. This guy was 300 to 400 feet away. An obvious place that some would-be assassin would try to use in order to kill the president, but apparently that wasn't identified, right? These people didn't have the area secure. And again, we have to ask ourselves why and how this was allowed to happen. We have to get answers to these questions. But first and foremost, again, the person in charge, the people in charge need to step down and accept accountability and responsibility for their failure because this is unacceptable. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.